Right now, the planet beneath you is spinning through the dark at roughly 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, while simultaneously dragging you around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. You feel nothing. Your room is completely silent. The air is calm and the glass of water resting on your nightstand sits perfectly still. This is the ultimate illusion of human existence. The ground feels eternal, fixed, and immovable. But that stability is a trick played on your nervous system by gravity and scale. You are a passenger on an immense, frictionless ride anchored to a thin crust of rock that is hurtling through a near-perfect vacuum. For most of human history, the exact speed of this rotation was something we could only measure by watching the sky. We tracked the sun, we watched the stars drift across the horizon. We divided the cycle of light and dark into 24 hours, assumed that rhythm was a constant fundamental law of nature, and built our entire civilization around it. But we now possess instruments capable of seeing past the illusion. Deep inside heavily guarded laboratories, atomic clocks keep the time. They do not rely on swinging pendulums or vibrating quartz crystals. They measure time by counting the microscopic vibrations of atoms. A cesium-133 atom, when excited, vibrates exactly 9,192,631,770 times per second. 9,192,631,770. In the time it took you to hear that number, the atom completed its cycle exactly that many times. It does not slow down. It does not speed up. It is a perfect, isolated metric of time measured directly. And when we use these perfect atomic clocks to measure the rotation of the Earth, we discover something unsettling. The Earth is not keeping perfect time. Our planet is currently spinning faster than it has in over 50 years. The days are getting shorter. The change is imperceptible to your body. We are talking about fractions of a millisecond. On June 29, 2022, atomic clocks recorded the Earth completing its rotation 1.59 milliseconds under 24 hours. This may sound like a microscopic rounding error, but in our highly connected world, time is no longer just a measure of day and night. It is the invisible architecture of the modern age. The global internet, GPS navigation systems, financial markets, and power grids all rely on the exact synchronization of servers down to the microsecond. If the Earth continues to accelerate and the days continue to shorten, our atomic clocks will eventually desynchronize from the physical rotation of the planet. To fix this, scientists are warning that we may soon need to implement a negative leap second. We will have to artificially delete a second from global clocks to let the accelerating Earth catch up. If this happens, computer systems worldwide will have to jump from 23:59:58 directly to midnight, skipping the 59th second entirely. Software engineers do not know if our interconnected global infrastructure will survive that sudden, unprecedented deletion without catastrophic failures. This is confirmed science, published in peer-reviewed literature. It is not speculation. If you enjoy deep investigations like this, subscribe now. The investigation starts with the ground beneath your feet. Why is the Earth suddenly accelerating? To answer that, we have to look downward. The cause is not in the sky, it is buried beneath you. Imagine peeling back the floor of your room, digging through the soil and descending through the rock. If you travel nearly 4,000 miles down, you will reach the inner core of the Earth. The inner core is a solid sphere of iron and nickel, roughly the size of Pluto. It is compressed under unimaginable pressure, and it is astonishingly hot, reaching temperatures of nearly 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is roughly the same temperature as the surface of the Sun, but because the pressure is so immense, the iron cannot melt. It remains a glowing solid ball of metal. Surrounding this solid inner core is the outer core. This is a vast, churning ocean of liquid metal. It is a subterranean sea of molten iron, thousands of miles deep. Because the solid inner core sits entirely inside this ocean of liquid metal, it is not physically attached to the mantle or the crust that we live on. It is floating. And because it is floating, it can spin independently of the rest of the planet. For decades, scientists measured the shock waves of massive earthquakes as they rippled through the planet. When a severe earthquake strikes, it sends seismic waves straight down, passing directly through the liquid outer core and piercing the solid inner core before emerging on the other side of the world. By measuring the exact fraction of a second it takes for these waves to arrive, seismologists can map the deep interior of the Earth. It is like performing an ultrasound on a planet. Through these measurements, they discovered that the core was super-rotating. It was spinning slightly faster than the Earth's surface. But recently, the data revealed a massive complication. The inner core has slowed down. It has lost its forward momentum. According to multiple independent teams who analyzed decades of seismic data, the inner core of the Earth paused its rotation. And now, relative to the mantle we live on, it appears to be slowly reversing direction. Right now, thousands of miles beneath your bed, a sphere of white-hot iron the size of Pluto is spinning backward through an ocean of liquid metal. This internal shift alters the distribution of mass and momentum throughout the entire planet. Think of an ice skater spinning on the ice. When she pulls her arms in, she spins faster. The Earth is doing something similar. The solid inner core is not perfectly smooth. Its surface is rugged, shaped by immense gravitational and magnetic forces. As the heavy iron core shifts its momentum within the liquid outer core, the friction and gravitational pull drag on the mantle, causing the crust of the Earth to accelerate. That is why the ground beneath you is speeding up. That is why the days are getting shorter. We live on a thin, fragile crust floating atop a world of fire and shifting iron. The ground beneath you feels solid and eternal, but it is moving. You are sitting on the surface of a complex, interconnected machine, and deep in the dark, the gears are changing direction. For all of human history, we have believed a very simple story about how life works on this planet. We used to think life existed only where sunlight touched. It makes intuitive sense. You look out of your window and everything you see is driven by the sun. Plants capture the sunlight and turn it into energy. Animals eat the plants. Larger animals eat the smaller animals. Even the weather, the rain that waters the forests and the wind that carries the seeds, are driven by the heat of the sun striking the earth. We built our entire understanding of biology on this one fundamental rule. Light is the engine of life. Because of this, we assumed that darkness was sterile. We believed that as you moved further away from the sun, life would naturally fade away. If you dig down into the soil, the roots stop. If you keep digging into the bedrock, the worms and the insects vanish. If you travel to the bottom of the deepest ocean trenches where the water is black and the pressure is crushing, you still find life, but it is sparse. Even there, the creatures in the dark are mostly feeding on the organic debris that slowly drifts down from the sunlit world miles above. The logic was flawless. Without the sun, the biological machine must eventually stop. Below the bottom of the ocean, beneath the miles of sediment and crushed stone, down in the solid igneous rock of the Earth's crust itself, there should be nothing but darkness, pressure, and sterile stone. But we were wrong. In recent decades, scientists initiated deep drilling projects. They took massive ships out into the middle of the ocean, dropped heavily engineered drill pipes miles down through the freezing water, and began to bore directly into the seafloor. They drilled through the soft sediment and ground their way into the hard, solid basalt and granite of the Earth's crust. They pulled up cylindrical cores of deep, subterranean rock and brought them to the surface. These rocks had been buried for millions of years. They were subjected to unimaginable pressure. They were completely devoid of oxygen. They had never been touched by a single photon of sunlight. By every known rule of biology, they should have been dead. But when researchers took these rock cores into perfectly sterile laboratories, cracked them open, and placed the freshly exposed stone under powerful electron microscopes, they found a massive complication. The rock was not dead, it was inhabited, wedged into microscopic fractures in the solid stone. Locked in the dark, they found microbes. They did not just find a few stray cells, they found millions of them. They discovered an entire hidden ecosystem buried inside the crust of the planet. This is confirmed science, published in peer-reviewed literature. It is not a fringe theory. Deep drilling has revealed that there is a deep biosphere, a shadow world of intraterrestrial life stretching for miles beneath the ocean floor and beneath the continents themselves. The data shows that this underground habitat is so unimaginably vast that it is estimated to hold a massive percentage of all the microbial life on Earth. There is an entire second biosphere beneath your feet right now, existing in the crushed, lightless rock. But discovering that these organisms exist was only the first shock. The deeper layer of this mystery is how they are living. Up here on the surface, life is chaotic, fast, and constantly moving. Because the sun floods our world with energy, life can afford to be wasteful. It can run, hunt, grow, and reproduce at breakneck speeds. A human being might live for 80 years. A dog lives for 15. A standard bacteria in a warm, nutrient-rich petri dish will divide and replicate itself every 20 minutes. Down in the deep biosphere, there is no sunlight, there is no rich soil, there is no organic snow falling from above. The microbes trapped inside the deep rock survive entirely on the faint chemical energy released when trace amounts of water react with the surrounding minerals. Natural radioactive decay from elements embedded in the rock slowly splits water molecules, providing a microscopic, agonizingly slow trickle of energy. Because their energy source is so incredibly faint, these organisms cannot afford to live like we do. They cannot afford to move. They cannot afford to grow quickly. To survive in the deep dark, they enter a state of biological suspension that redefines what it means to be alive. They slow down to match the speed of the stone that surrounds them. They are not just surviving, they are living on geological timescales. Measurements of their metabolic rates have revealed something that challenges human comprehension. A single cell might take 10,000 years to divide, 10,000 years for one microscopic breath. Let us put that number into perspective. Imagine a single intraterrestrial microbe trapped in a microscopic fissure of solid rock 2 miles beneath the floor of the Pacific Ocean. It is beginning the slow, incredibly energy-intensive process of cellular division. While that microbe gathers the faint chemical energy it needs up on the surface, human beings are just discovering how to plant wheat and farm the land. The microbe waits, slowly accumulating energy. Above it, the ancient Egyptians cut stones from the earth and build the Great Pyramid of Giza. The microbe continues its silent work in the dark. Above it, the Roman Empire rises to conquer the known world and then crumbles to dust. The Bronze Age passes. The Iron Age passes. The microbe gathers a fraction of a percent more energy. Up in the sunlight, the bubonic plague sweeps across continents. The Renaissance begins. Ships with massive cloth sails cross the oceans, charting the surface of the globe. The microbe is halfway through its division. Above it, the Industrial Revolution coats the skies in soot. Humans invent the steam engine, then the combustion engine, then flight. We fight global wars, we split the atom. You build rockets, leave the atmosphere, and walk on the moon. We connect the entire planet with an invisible web of data and satellites. And finally, as you lie in your bed listening to this, in the crushing, silent dark beneath the crust, that single microbe gathers the last microscopic unit of energy it needs. It completes its division. 2 cells now exist where there was only 1. In the time it takes for one of these organisms to complete a single biological action, human civilization goes from the invention of agriculture to the modern age. This is not a metaphor, this is what the data says. It is established. You are living above a world where time barely exists. These organisms do not experience days or nights. They do not know what a year is. They are unbothered by the changing of the seasons, the shifting of the weather, or the rise and fall of everything we care about on the surface. They have been there since before humanity began, and they will be there long after we are gone, slowly ticking forward, 1 division every 100 centuries. We think of Earth as a fast, vibrant, sunlit place. We think of life as something that moves and breathes and rushes forward. But the discovery of the deep biosphere suggests something profoundly different. It suggests that the fast, frantic life we experience up here in the light is actually the exception. The vast majority of the biological history of our planet might be written in the dark. It is written in the slow, patient endurance of microscopic life that is perfectly content to wait. Right now, as you lie in the quiet of your room, you are resting on top of a massive living planet. Beneath your floorboards, beneath the soil, beneath the sedimentary rock and the crushed bedrock, the deep biosphere is there. It is silent, it is entirely invisible to you, but it is holding on, safe, stable, and deeply embedded in the stone. It is taking a breath that lasts 1,000 lifetimes. Right now, as you rest in the quiet safety of your room, you are being protected by an invisible force. It passes through the walls of your home, through the furniture, and directly through your body. You cannot see it. You cannot feel it. Your nervous system is completely blind to its presence. Yet without this silent, invisible shield, the Earth would be a lifeless rock, stripped bare by the violent weather of the solar system. You are sitting inside Earth's magnetic field. To understand where this force comes from, we have to look past the floorboards, past the soil, and travel thousands of miles down into the dark. As we explored in the previous chapter, beneath the solid crust and the thick mantle lies the outer core. This is a subterranean sea of molten iron, thousands of miles deep. It is a churning, boiling ocean of liquid metal, heated by the immense radioactive decay and residual thermal energy left over from the formation of the planet. Because the Earth is spinning, this liquid iron ocean does not just sit still, it swirls and flows in massive convection currents driven by the intense heat radiating from the solid inner core beneath it. As these millions of tons of liquid iron churn through the deep, their movement generates massive electrical currents. And in the language of physics, moving electrical currents generate a magnetic field. This churning liquid iron at the center of the planet projects an invisible shield that extends out through the crust, through the atmosphere, and stretches for tens of thousands of miles into the near-perfect vacuum of space. Out in that dark void, the environment is incredibly hostile. The sun is a giant nuclear furnace, and it does not just emit light and heat. It constantly blasts out a supersonic stream of highly energetic, charged particles. This is the solar wind. It is a relentless radioactive hurricane blowing across the solar system at hundreds of miles per second. When that deadly solar wind reaches Earth, it slams into our magnetic field and is deflected harmlessly away, flowing around our planet like water around a stone. Without this field, the sun's particles would act like a cosmic sandblaster. It would slowly strip away our atmosphere, boiling our oceans away into space and leaving Earth barren, cold, and dead, much like the surface of Mars. Every moment of your life you are shielded by this unseen deflection. But this brings us to a massive complication. We tend to think of this shield as a permanent, fixed architecture. We assume that because the Earth is solid, the magnetic field around it must be stable. We have built entire systems of navigation around the belief that the magnetic North Pole is a reliable, static point on the map. It is not static. The shield is drifting. Because the magnetic field is generated by a fluid, an ocean of swirling liquid iron, it is subject to the chaotic turbulence of that fluid. The currents in the outer core shift, accelerate, and change direction. And as the deep ocean of iron shifts, the invisible shield on the surface shifts with it. For the last century, scientists have carefully tracked the location of the magnetic North Pole. For a long time, it wandered slowly and predictably around the Canadian Arctic. But recently, something deep within the Earth changed. The magnetic North Pole stopped its slow, meandering walk. It began to accelerate. Right now, the magnetic North Pole is currently sprinting toward Siberia at an unprecedented rate. It is moving at a speed of nearly 35 miles per year. If you were to take a compass into your room right now and lay it flat, the needle would point toward a destination that is physically moving further away from its historical anchor with every passing month. The invisible lines of force passing through your room are actively bending, dragged along by a chaotic storm of liquid iron nearly 2,000 miles beneath your bed. This is confirmed science, published in peer-reviewed literature. It is not speculation. And the shifting of the poles is only the first part of the mystery. The deeper layer is what is happening to the strength of the shield itself. The Earth's magnetic field is not perfectly uniform. There are regions where the magnetic lines of force dip closer to the surface, and regions where the field is weaker. One of these regions sits directly over South America and the Southern Atlantic Ocean. It is called the South Atlantic Anomaly. In this vast area, the magnetic shield is thinning out. The protection it offers is dropping at an alarming rate. It has become a massive dent in our planetary armor, and it is growing larger every year. Down here on the surface, beneath the thick blanket of the atmosphere, we do not notice the South Atlantic Anomaly. But for the technology orbiting above us, the anomaly is a deeply hostile environment. When sophisticated spacecraft, such as the Hubble Space Telescope or the International Space Station, orbit through this specific region, they are suddenly exposed to intense, high-energy solar radiation. The invisible shield that normally protects them is simply not there. To survive the passage through the South Atlantic Anomaly, satellites must frequently be shut down. Their delicate instruments are put into a protective safe mode to avoid having their computers scrambled or their electrical systems destroyed by radiation damage. Imagine a roof over your house that is slowly developing a hole right above your living room. The rain is beginning to pour through. That is what is happening to the Earth's magnetic field right now. This brings us to a point of honest uncertainty. What does this rapid shifting and localized weakening mean? Are we losing our shield entirely? To find the answer, geologists had to look at the memory of stones. When volcanoes erupt and lava flows onto the surface, it contains microscopic particles of iron. While the lava is still liquid, these tiny iron particles act like billions of microscopic compass needles floating freely. They naturally align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field. As the lava cools and hardens into solid rock, those iron particles are locked into place forever. By digging up ancient rocks and reading these frozen magnetic needles, scientists have uncovered a continuous record of the Earth's magnetic field stretching back millions of years. This ancient magnetic record reveals something profound. The poles are not permanent, they flip. Hidden in the stones is the absolute proof that Earth's magnetic field regularly completely reverses itself. Magnetic north becomes magnetic south. Magnetic south becomes magnetic north. This planetary reversal has happened hundreds of times throughout Earth's history. The data shows that before a reversal occurs, the global magnetic field becomes highly unstable. It weakens dramatically. The poles begin to wander rapidly across the globe. Anomalies, like the one currently sitting over the South Atlantic, begin to appear and multiply. We know the poles have flipped before. We know that what we are seeing today, the sprinting pole, the weakening shield, matches the pattern of a field preparing to reverse. But we do not know when the next flip will happen. It could be in 10,000 years. It could be already underway right now. And more importantly, we do not know exactly what it will do to our modern electrical grid. When the field weakens during a flip, it lets more solar radiation through to the surface. For early humanity, this was not a problem. Our ancestors simply watched the auroras, the glowing northern and southern lights, descend from the poles and fill the skies over the equator. But today we live in a world entirely dependent on a delicate, invisible web of electricity. In 1859, during a period of intense solar activity, a massive burst of solar plasma hit the Earth. Because of the strength of the storm, the magnetic field was overwhelmed. Telegraph wires across Europe and North America sparked and caught fire, and operators received electric shocks from their machines. That was in 1859, when our only electrical infrastructure was a few copper wires strung between wooden poles. Today, we have wrapped the entire planet in power grids, internet cables, and satellite networks. If a weakened magnetic shield allows a major solar storm to strike the Earth today, it could induce massive electrical currents in our power lines, blowing out transformers and plunging entire continents into darkness. The ground beneath you is shifting its deep, iron currents. The invisible shield that protects your room is thinning and drifting. Multiple systems on this planet are changing simultaneously, and we are inside this problem right now. We are a brilliant, fragile species sitting inside an interconnected machine, watching the compass needles turn, waiting to see what happens when the poles finally flip. Right now, as you lie in your bed, the space around you feels entirely empty. You can wave your hand through the quiet dark of your room and feel nothing but a faint, yielding breeze. When you take a slow, deep breath, the air enters your lungs effortlessly, feeling completely weightless. It is intuitive to think of the atmosphere as a void, a transparent window that simply allows us to look out into the vastness of space. But this emptiness is an illusion. We do not live on the edge of a void. We live at the very bottom of a deep, heavy ocean. This ocean is not made of liquid water, but of gas. The atmosphere is a layer of matter held in place by the planet's gravity. It is composed mostly of nitrogen and oxygen, and it extends for hundreds of kilometers above your roof. Most of its mass is compressed into the lowest 10 to 15 kilometers, pressed down by the sheer weight of the gas piled above it. Because you have spent your entire life submerged at the bottom of this invisible ocean, your nervous system is perfectly calibrated to ignore it. But the air around you is physical matter. It has mass, and because it has mass, it has weight. Let us translate this invisible mass into something you can physically understand. At sea level, the weight of the atmosphere presses down with a force of about 14.7 pounds on every single square inch of surface area. 14.7 pounds on every square inch. Think about the surface area of your chest as you lie under your blankets right now. If you were to draw a square grid over your torso and place nearly 15 pounds of iron on every single square, the total weight would be staggering. The invisible column of air resting directly on your chest right now, stretching all the way up through the dark to the edge of space, weighs thousands of pounds. It is roughly equivalent to the weight of a small car pressing down on your ribs. You are not crushed into your mattress because the liquids and gases inside your body are pushing outward with the exact same immense pressure, perfectly balancing the equation. You are walking, sleeping, and breathing under a crushing physical load that your brain simply edits out of your reality. This is not a metaphor, this is established physics. You are supporting the weight of the sky, and understanding the true weight of the atmosphere introduces a massive complication when we look upward. On a mild afternoon, you might see fluffy white clouds drifting slowly across the sky. They look like weightless cotton, fragile and delicate, sailing effortlessly miles above the ground. Our instinct is to believe they are floating because they weigh almost nothing, but this is a trick played on us by distance. A cloud is not a puff of empty vapor. It is a massive, heavy structure of liquid water and solid ice. If you were to take a single, ordinary cumulus cloud, just one of the countless white clouds that drift past your window on a summer day, and extract all of the liquid water it contains to place it on a scale, you would find that it weighs over 1 million pounds. 1 million pounds of suspended water. That is roughly the weight of 100 adult elephants. How does something that weighs as much as 100 elephants float silently in the thin air above your house? To answer this, we have to look closely at the microscopic architecture of the weather. A cloud is not a single, solid object. It is a vast collection of millions of tiny droplets of water and microscopic ice crystals. But these droplets cannot simply form out of thin air. They require a foundation. High up in the atmosphere, there are microscopic particles constantly drifting on the wind. These particles include dust blown from distant deserts, pollen lifted from ancient forests, salt evaporated from ocean spray, and even microscopic ash from volcanic eruptions. Scientists call these tiny floating fragments condensation nuclei. As the sun heats the ground, warm, moist air begins to rise. As it climbs higher into the atmosphere, the air cools, and the invisible water vapor it carries begins to condense. This water vapor wraps itself around the floating condensation nuclei, forming microscopic droplets of liquid water. Because these droplets are so unimaginably small, they are incredibly light. They are so light that they simply ride the rising thermal currents of the warm air pushing up from the earth beneath them. The upward push of the wind easily overcomes the downward pull of gravity. The cloud weighs 1 million pounds, but that weight is perfectly divided across countless trillions of microscopic spheres of water, all held aloft by the invisible thermal architecture of the sky. They are the visible expression of the water cycle, a silent, slow-motion dance of heat and gravity. But this delicate balance is not always peaceful. Within these floating oceans of gas and water, a quiet, intricate violence is constantly brewing. When a cloud grows large enough, transforming into a towering cumulonimbus storm cloud, the internal dynamics change entirely. Deep inside the dark heart of the storm, powerful updrafts of air hurl droplets of water and shards of ice violently upward, while heavier frozen particles fall rapidly downward. As these millions of pieces of ice and water collide in the dark, they strip electrons from one another. They create massive amounts of static electricity. The lighter ice crystals carrying a positive charge are carried to the very top of the cloud. The heavier, negatively charged particles gather at the bottom. The cloud is no longer just a collection of water. It has become an immense, floating battery. The tension builds as the positive and negative charges pull desperately at one another, separated by the insulating layer of the air. When the electrical difference becomes too great for the air to hold back, the energy is released. A bolt of lightning leaps between the charges, either within the cloud itself or striking down to the ground below. This happens constantly. Lightning strikes the Earth approximately 100 times every single second, 100 times per second. By the time you finish hearing this sentence, lightning has struck our planet hundreds of times. That adds up to roughly 8 million strikes every single day. The physical reality of a lightning bolt is staggering. It is a concentrated river of electrical current that superheats the air it passes through. In a fraction of a millisecond, the air inside the lightning channel reaches temperatures of around 30,000 degrees Celsius. 30,000 degrees. That is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. This extreme, instantaneous heat causes the surrounding air to expand explosively outward. This supersonic expansion creates a massive, violent shockwave that ripples through the atmosphere. That shockwave is what you hear as thunder. It is the literal sound of the sky being ripped apart by cosmic heat and slamming back together in the dark. This is what the data says. It is measured directly. The sky above you is not a calm, empty void. It is a heavy, churning ocean of pressurized gas. It is filled with million-pound structures of floating water, supported by invisible thermals, generating immense electrical currents that burn hotter than stars. Yet, as you lie in your bed, listening to the quiet of your room, you are perfectly safe from this chaotic machinery. The atmosphere is a delicate, protective shell. It is an invisible blanket that absorbs harmful radiation, burns up meteors, and distributes the sun's heat so that the surface of the Earth does not freeze in the dark. You are nestled at the very bottom of this deep ocean of air, perfectly calibrated to its crushing weight, shielded by its invisible currents, resting peacefully as the heavy clouds drift silently overhead. The architecture of the weather is towering and violent, but down here on the surface, beneath the weight of the sky, you are sheltered and still. When you picture the environment outside your window, you likely imagine a world in constant, rapid motion. Leaves rustling in the wind, water flowing in streams, clouds drifting overhead, and animals moving through the brush. We associate life and reality with warmth and movement. When the temperature drops and water freezes, we tend to think of it as a pause. Ice feels like a temporary halt to the machinery of the planet, a frozen stillness that will eventually thaw and return to normal. But this is a misunderstanding of how our planet operates. Ice is not a temporary pause. It is a permanent, massive, and active architectural feature of the Earth. Right now, as you pull the blankets closer to ward off the chill of the night, vast regions of our planet are locked in an eternal freeze. About 10% of the Earth's entire land surface is permanently covered in ice. 10%. Let us translate that number into a physical space. If you were to take every square inch of dry land on this planet, from the sprawling plains of Africa to the vast expanse of Asia, from the dense rainforests of South America to the smallest islands in the Pacific, and lay all of it out flat across your bedroom floor, one entire corner of your room would be buried under a thick, crushing layer of solid white. Most of this ice is locked away at the extreme edges of the world in Greenland and Antarctica. To the human eye, these massive ice sheets and the glaciers that flow from them appear completely static. If you were to stand on the edge of a glacier, the air would be silent and bitter cold. The ice would look as hard and immovable as granite. But this stillness is an illusion created by the shortness of a human lifespan. Ice is not static. It is constantly moving. When snow accumulates in massive quantities, the sheer weight of it causes the bottom layers to compress and crystallize into solid ice. As millions of tons of this ice pile up, gravity takes over. The ice begins to deform. It yields to the crushing pressure and starts to flow downhill. Glaciers are literally rivers of ice, flowing in agonizing slow motion. Depending on the terrain and the sheer mass of the frozen water, A glacier might move a few centimeters a year, or it might surge forward several meters a day. As they flow, they behave with the unstoppable force of a planetary bulldozer. Millions of tons of grinding ice scrape away the bedrock, carving deep valleys, leveling hills, and completely reshaping the surface of the Earth. The quiet, frozen landscape is actually a scene of immense, relentless violence, operating on a timescale that is invisible to your nervous system. But the physical power of the ice is only the beginning of the mystery. The deeper layer of this frozen world is not what it destroys, but what it preserves. Ice is a memory bank. To understand this, imagine a single snowflake falling from the sky over the interior of Antarctica. It drifts down through the freezing air and lands softly on the desolate white expanse. It is joined by thousands of other snowflakes, forming a loose, powdery layer on the surface. Because the temperature in the interior of Antarctica almost never rises above freezing, this snow does not melt. Months pass, years pass, more snow falls on top of it. The weight of the new snow begins to press down on our original snowflake. Over centuries, the delicate, crystalline structure of the snowflake is crushed. It is compressed tighter and tighter until the loose snow is forged into dense, solid glacial ice. But during this crushing process, something extraordinary happens. The microscopic spaces between the original snowflakes are sealed shut. The air that was resting between the flakes is trapped. It is compressed into a microscopic bubble, completely isolated from the atmosphere above. That tiny bubble is a flawless time capsule. It contains the exact chemical composition of the Earth's atmosphere at the exact moment that the snow fell. Because the ice sheets of Antarctica and Greenland are incredibly thick, in some places stretching more than 4 kilometers deep, they contain millions of layers of these trapped bubbles, stacked perfectly in chronological order. The deeper you go, the older the ice and the older the air trapped within it. We do not have to guess what the ancient Earth was like. We can measure it directly. Scientists travel to the most remote, hostile environments on the planet to access this memory bank. They set up heavy drilling rigs on the high, frozen plateaus and bore straight down into the ice sheet. They extract long, continuous cylindrical cores of solid ice, pulling them up from the freezing depths. By carefully analyzing the trapped air bubbles within these cores, scientists can measure the exact levels of carbon dioxide, methane, and other gases that were present in the sky thousands of years ago. They can even study the specific isotopes of the ice itself to determine the exact global temperature at the time the snow fell. Through this meticulous work, they have uncovered a continuous, unbroken record of the Earth's climate history. They have pulled up ice cores containing trapped air that is 800,000 years old. 800,000 years. In the quiet of your room, try to fathom that span of time. Human civilization, every city ever built, every war ever fought, every word ever written, occupies only the last few thousand years. We are a recent, fleeting addition to the planet, but deep in the ice, perfectly preserved in the dark, the planet has kept an exact, physical record of the sky that predates our entire existence. This brings us to a profound human-scale reality. When scientists extract these deep cores, they must keep them frozen during the long journey back to their laboratories. Once they are safely in sterile, climate-controlled rooms, the researchers begin the delicate process of analysis. They must melt the ice to access the gases trapped within it. Imagine standing in that cold laboratory. A scientist carefully melts a small section of a core pulled from the deepest, oldest layers of the Antarctic sheet. As the ancient ice slowly turns to water, the microscopic bubbles that have been trapped in the dark for hundreds of thousands of years finally reach the surface. With a quiet, almost imperceptible hiss, they pop. The air inside those bubbles spills out into the room. If you were to take a breath at that exact moment, you would be inhaling the atmosphere of an alien world. You would be breathing air that has not touched the surface of the planet since before modern human beings existed. The oxygen filling your lungs would be the exact oxygen that drifted over the heads of ancient, long-extinct creatures. The carbon dioxide would carry the chemical signature of a world that was completely untouched by industry, untamed by agriculture, and completely unaware of our species. This is confirmed science, published in peer-reviewed literature. It is not a metaphor. When those ancient bubbles pop in a modern laboratory, the past and the present physically collide. The scientists are not just reading about history, they are releasing it into the room. The Earth is not a passive rock floating in space. It is an active, meticulous record keeper. It remembers the chemical composition of every storm, every volcanic eruption, and every slow, sweeping change in the climate. It takes the invisible, fleeting gases of the sky and locks them away in vaults of crushed ice, burying them miles beneath the surface for safekeeping. Right now, as you lie in your bed, the ice sheets at the poles are quietly doing what they have done for millions of years. Snow is falling in the dark. It is gathering on the surface. It is trapping the air that you are breathing today. Slowly, patiently, the ice is archiving our present moment, pressing it down into the dark, saving the memory of our world for whoever comes looking for it thousands of years from now. If you have ever walked through a dense forest or even just looked at a cluster of trees outside your window, your eyes naturally focus on the trunks. You see massive, solitary pillars of wood reaching upward, each one standing alone in the soil. Our entire understanding of nature has historically been built on the idea of the individual. We are taught that a forest is a battlefield of Darwinian competition, where every single tree is locked in a slow, desperate race against its neighbors to reach the sunlight above and hoard the water below. To the human eye, the space between the trees appears empty. It is just dirt, dead leaves, and quiet air. But this is an illusion of the surface. The empty space is not empty, and the trees are not individuals. If you were to peel back the layers of the forest floor, gently brushing away the fallen leaves and the dark topsoil, you would find a pale, intricate web woven through the dirt. These are not roots. They are microscopic, thread-like structures called hyphae. They belong to fungi. These threads are unimaginably fine, far thinner than a human hair, but they grow in such staggering density that a single handful of forest soil can contain miles of them. They branch and divide, spreading out in all directions, navigating the dark, moist earth. Eventually, these fungal threads encounter the root of a tree, but they do not wrap around it like a parasite. They enter it. The microscopic threads penetrate the cellular walls of the tree's roots, merging with the biology of the wood itself. The two organisms fuse, creating a symbiotic structure called a mycorrhiza. Once this connection is made, a silent biological trade agreement begins. The tree has something the fungus desperately needs: access to the sky. Through the process of photosynthesis, the tree captures sunlight and carbon dioxide, manufacturing rich, liquid sugars. It sends these sugars down its trunk and into its roots, feeding the fungus in the dark. In return, the fungus acts as an immense, subterranean extension of the tree's root system. The microscopic fungal threads can reach into tiny crevices in the soil that the thick roots of the tree could never access. The fungus absorbs water and essential minerals like phosphorus and nitrogen and pumps them directly back into the tree. For a long time, scientists believed this was the entire story: a simple, localized exchange between one tree and one patch of fungus. But modern ecology has revealed a massive complication. The fungal threads do not just connect to one tree. They continue growing through the soil, reaching out until they find another tree, and then another, and another. They connect the roots of the birch to the roots of the fir. They link the oldest oak to the youngest sapling. Slowly, silently, the fungi weave the entire forest together into a single, vast, interconnected biological network. Ecologists have begun calling this the wood wide web. Through this hidden network, trees are not just trading with the fungus. They are communicating and sharing resources with one another. A forest is not a collection of isolated competitors. It is a single, massive, cooperative community. Let us translate this into a scenario you can visualize. Imagine a towering ancient tree, often referred to by scientists as a mother tree, standing in the center of the forest. Its broad canopy dominates the sky, capturing immense amounts of sunlight and producing an abundance of sugar. Down on the forest floor, sitting in the deep, permanent shade of the mother tree, there is a tiny sapling. Because it is trapped in the darkness, the sapling cannot capture enough sunlight to survive on its own. By the old rules of biological competition, it should die, but it does not die. Deep underground, the mother tree recognizes the struggling sapling connected to the network. It takes its own excess sugar, pushes it down into its roots, and pumps it into the fungal web. The sugar flows through the microscopic threads, traveling through the dark soil until it reaches the roots of the sapling, feeding it and keeping it alive. The older trees actively support their offspring, funneling resources to the most vulnerable members of the forest. When a tree is dying, it does not hold on to its remaining energy. It empties its reserves into the fungal network, passing its last nutrients to its neighbors before it falls. But the sharing of food is only one part of this silent conversation. They also share fear. When a tree is attacked by a swarm of hungry insects, it does not suffer in silence. The moment the insects begin chewing on its leaves, the tree's nervous system, a slow, chemical intelligence, reacts. It sends a distress signal down its trunk and into the fungal network. This chemical alarm travels through the subterranean threads, moving outward through the dark. It reaches the neighboring trees, delivering a highly specific warning. Before the insects can even reach them, the surrounding trees receive the signal and begin pumping defensive toxins into their own leaves, making themselves bitter and unappetizing. They coordinate their defenses, they share their immune responses, they act as a single, unified organism spread across hundreds of acres. This brings us to a profound, honest uncertainty. When we look at a forest, our human brains demand that we categorize it. We want to draw clear, distinct lines around what makes an individual. We want to point to a trunk and say, this is the tree, and point to the dirt and say, this is the fungus. But the discovery of the wood wide web completely collapses the boundaries of biological identity. If a birch tree and a fir tree share the exact same circulatory system, and if the sugar produced by the leaves of one tree is currently flowing through the roots of another, where does one tree end and the other begin? If the entire forest is wired together, sharing nutrients, communicating threats, and making collective decisions without a central brain, then the concept of an individual tree might simply be a failure of human perception. This is what the data says. It is established. You are forced to confront the reality that the rigid borders we draw around living things do not actually exist in the dark. The trees are not solitary pillars. They are the visible, above-ground organs of a single, sprawling entity that exists mostly underground. To understand the sheer scale of this biological fusion, we can look to a forest in the mountains of Oregon. Hidden beneath the soil, there is a single honey fungus. It is not a collection of different fungi. It is one continuous, genetically identical organism. Its microscopic threads have grown and spread through the earth, connecting the roots of countless trees. It covers over 2,000 acres. 2,000 acres. It is estimated to be thousands of years old. It is the largest known living organism on Earth, and you could walk right over it, completely unaware that the ground beneath your boots is a single, thinking, sharing entity. Right now, as you lie in the quiet of your room, you are surrounded by the illusion of separation. The walls of your house feel like clear boundaries. Your body feels like a distinct, isolated container. We are conditioned to feel entirely separate from the world around us. But out in the dark, beneath the soil of the forests, the earth operates on a fundamentally different principle. The world is physically stitched together. Millions of miles of microscopic threads are humming with chemical traffic right now. Sugars are flowing. Warnings are being whispered in the dark. The forest is breathing not as a collection of lonely wooden giants, but as a vast, quiet, cooperative mind. You are resting on the surface of a planet that does not believe in isolation. The boundaries are blurred, the connections are deep, and beneath the quiet dirt, the forest is holding itself together in the dark. Right now, as you lie in your bed, your body is aging at two fundamentally different speeds. You feel absolutely nothing. The air in your room is quiet, the clock on your nightstand ticks at a steady, reliable rhythm, and time feels like a perfectly even, invisible river flowing smoothly forward. This is one of the most stubborn illusions of the human experience. We are entirely convinced that time is a universal, unbending constant. We believe that a second passing in your bedroom is the exact same second passing at the bottom of the ocean or deep in the vacuum of space. We trust our clocks, we trust the rhythm of the days, but time is not a river. It is a physical property, and it is actively bending around the mass of your body and the mass of the planet beneath you. For most of human history, we operated under the assumption that time was absolute. A second was simply a second, no matter where you were or what you were doing. We tracked the sun. We watched the stars drift across the horizon. We divided the cycle of light and dark into 24 hours, assumed that rhythm was a constant, fundamental law of nature, and built our entire civilization around it. But over a century ago, the theory of general relativity revealed a massive complication. It proved that space and time are not separate things. They are woven together into a single, flexible fabric. And this invisible fabric reacts to mass. The data shows that gravity is not just an invisible magnet pulling objects toward the ground. Gravity is the physical curvature of space and time itself. The more massive an object is, the deeper the dent it makes in reality. And the deeper you descend into that gravitational dent, the slower time moves. This is not speculation, it is confirmed science, measured directly. If you were to fall into the ultimate gravity well, the event horizon of a supermassive black hole, the gravitational pull would be so extreme that time would behave in ways that break human intuition. General relativity predicts that as you approach the black hole, time slows down so dramatically that, from the perspective of the rest of the universe, your time would appear to stop completely. The laws of physics bend at these extremes. But you do not need to travel to a black hole to experience this phenomenon. You are sitting inside a gravity well right now. Our planet is a massive object. Deep beneath your floorboards, beneath the crust and the swirling liquid mantle, sits the solid iron inner core. Because of the immense concentration of mass at the center of the Earth, the gravitational pull is strongest there. The heavy iron core sits at the absolute bottom of Earth's gravity well. Up here on the surface, resting on the thin outer crust, we are slightly further away from that dense center. We are floating higher up the sides of the well because gravity bends time. And because the strength of gravity changes depending on how close you are to the center of the mass, time itself is moving at different speeds depending on your elevation. The closer you are to a massive object, the slower time moves. Let us translate this invisible physics into a physical reality that you are experiencing in your room right now. Imagine standing up next to your bed. Your feet are planted firmly on the floorboards. They are physically closer to the dense iron core, at the center of the planet than your head is. The difference in distance is only about 5 or 6 feet. To the human brain, this distance is entirely meaningless, but to the fabric of the universe, it matters. Because your feet are deeper in Earth's gravity well than your head, time is moving slower at your feet. The passage of time at the floor is infinitesimally slower than the passage of time near the ceiling. While your head experiences a full, complete second, your feet experience a microscopic fraction of a second less. You are not a single, synchronized entity. You are existing across a temporal gradient right now. Every moment you spend standing up, your head is literally aging faster than your toes. When you climb a flight of stairs, you are climbing higher out of the gravity well, and your personal timeline speeds up by an imperceptible margin. When you sit back down, you sink deeper into the well, and your time slows down. When you lie down flat in your bed to sleep, you finally align your body horizontally with the gravity well, allowing your head and your feet to age at the exact same speed. We know this is happening because we possess instruments capable of seeing past the illusion. Deep inside heavily guarded laboratories, atomic clocks keep the time. They do not rely on swinging pendulums or vibrating quartz crystals. They measure time by counting the microscopic vibrations of atoms. A cesium-133 atom, when excited, vibrates exactly 9,192,631,770 times per second. 9,192,631,770. In the time it took you to hear that number, the atom completed its cycle exactly that many times. It does not slow down. It does not speed up. It is a perfect, isolated metric of time. While outside the scope of our specific provided documents, it is an established, verifiable fact of physics that when scientists place these perfectly synchronized atomic clocks at different elevations, they do not tick at the same rate. The clock closer to the Earth's center ticks slower, proving relativity at a domestic scale. The fabric of time is physically stretched by the mass of the planet. This is what the data says. It is established. But the difference in time between your head and your feet is just a fraction of a millisecond. It is a biological curiosity. The deeper layer of this mystery becomes apparent when we look at the planet as a whole and apply this rule across deep geological time. The Earth formed roughly 4.6 billion years ago. In the beginning, our solar system was nothing more than a vast cloud of gas and dust slowly rotating in the darkness of space. As gravity pulled this material together, the young planet was a hellish place, molten and glowing, bombarded constantly by asteroids and comets. Eventually, the heaviest materials, primarily iron and nickel, sank to the very center of the planet, forming the core. Since the moment it coalesced, that massive iron core has been sitting at the absolute bottom of the gravity well. The rocky crust, on the other hand, cooled and hardened thousands of miles above it, orbiting slightly further away from the center of that immense gravitational dent. For 4.6 billion years, the core has been experiencing a slower version of time than the surface. A microscopic fraction of a second, compounded over 4.5 billion years, adds up to something massive. Calculations of this relativistic time dilation reveal a staggering reality. The center of our planet is not the same age as the surface. Earth's solid iron core is technically 2.5 years younger than the crust we live on. 2.5 years. In the time it took you to hear that sentence, the ground beneath your home drifted just a tiny bit further into the future than the deep iron heart of the world. When we talk about the history of the Earth, we usually speak of it as a single object moving through space and time together, but it is not. The planet is a literal time machine. Its surface has lived 2.5 years longer than its center. the crust has seen more time pass. The ancient forests, the drifting continents, the deep ocean trenches, and the bed you are resting in are all older than the glowing core that holds them in orbit. We are conditioned to think of time as a relentless, unstoppable force that pushes us constantly forward at the exact same pace. We wear watches on our wrists, we synchronize our global internet and GPS navigation systems down to the microsecond. We build our fragile human lives around the assumption that an hour in the dark is the same as an hour in the light. But out in the quiet mechanics of the universe, time is entirely subjective. It bends, it stretches, and it slows down in the presence of heavy things. You are resting on the surface of a world that is heavy enough to warp reality. The immense physical weight of the iron beneath you is dragging on the seconds, pulling at the minutes, and bending the passage of time itself. Every atom in your body, every molecule of water you drink, every breath of air, was forged in those violent early days of the solar system. And as those ancient atoms arrange themselves into the shape of you, lying quietly in your room, they are subject to the same invisible laws that govern the behavior of black holes and distant stars. As you drift closer to sleep, you are completely safe from the crushing pressure of the deep earth, and you are sheltered from the vacuum of space. But you are not separate from the strange physics of the cosmos. You are intimately connected to them. You are anchored to a massive spinning sphere. The gravity that holds you gently against your mattress is the exact same force that is slowing down the clock at your feet. You are a quiet passenger inside a bending, warping field of time. The universe is strange, heavy, and infinitely complex, and right now your body is quietly participating in its most profound mystery. Right now, as you lie in your bed, the water of the world is moving. You cannot hear it. You cannot feel the momentum of it. From the quiet sanctuary of your room, the earth feels solid and the oceans feel distant. When you look at a globe or a map, you see the oceans drawn as separate bodies of water, divided by continents and given different names: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian. The map makes them look like massive, static lakes, sitting quietly in their stone basins. But this is a failure of human categorization. The oceans are not still. They are not separated. They are a single, massive, interconnected circulatory system. Vast, invisible rivers flow through the deep, operating on a scale that defies our everyday understanding of water. Driven by the constant push of the wind, the spinning rotation of the earth, and the subtle, invisible differences in temperature and salt, the ocean is constantly churning. It functions as a global conveyor belt, operating in agonizing slow motion, transporting unimaginable amounts of heat from the equator toward the freezing poles, and pulling cold water back in the opposite direction. This planetary circulatory system is the reason the Earth's climate is stable. It is the reason the tropics do not boil and the high latitudes do not permanently freeze. One of the most vital arteries in this global system is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or the AMOC. This immense current, which includes the famous Gulf Stream, acts as a planetary heating system. It carries warm, tropical water from the equator all the way up the Atlantic coast toward Europe. As this warm water travels north, it releases its heat into the atmosphere, making the climate of places like England and France far milder than they would naturally be. Without the massive heat delivered by this ocean current, much of northern Europe would be locked in ice, resembling the frozen landscapes of northern Canada at the exact same latitude. But recent data has revealed a massive complication in the architecture of the ocean. The AMOC is powered by a delicate physical balance. When the warm, salty tropical water reaches the freezing north, it cools down. Because cold water is denser and heavier than warm water, It sinks to the bottom of the ocean, pushing the deeper water out of the way and pulling more warm water up from the south to replace it. That sinking motion is the engine of the entire Atlantic current. However, as the global climate warms, the massive ice sheets of Greenland and the Arctic are melting. This is pouring billions of tons of fresh water directly into the Northern Ocean. Fresh water is lighter and less dense than salt water. Because the Northern Ocean is becoming flooded with this fresh, buoyant meltwater, the water is struggling to sink, the engine is sputtering, the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation is slowing down. This is measured directly, published in peer-reviewed literature. It is confirmed science. The Great Ocean Conveyor Belt is losing its momentum. If the circulation continues to slow or if it stops entirely, the distribution of heat across the planet will fundamentally change. The invisible web that connects the weather of the tropics to the storms of the north is shifting its rhythm. To truly understand the scale of the ocean, however, we cannot just look at the currents moving across its surface. We have to look downward. We have to leave the sunlight behind. As you descend beneath the waves, the light quickly fades. Below 200 meters, the water becomes a twilight blue. Below 1,000 meters, you enter the midnight zone. Here, the ocean is an absolute permanent black void. The temperature drops to near freezing, and the weight of the water above begins to press down with terrifying force. Most of the ocean floor sits at an average depth of around 4,000 meters, but the ocean floor is not flat. It is scarred by the violent tectonic machinery of the planet. Where the massive tectonic plates that make up the Earth's crust collide, one plate is often forced to grind beneath the other, plunging deep into the mantle in a process called subduction. This violent collision creates deep, plunging grooves in the seafloor. The deepest of these scars is the Mariana Trench, located in the western Pacific Ocean. The lowest point of this trench, an area known as Challenger Deep, plunges nearly 11,000 meters below the surface of the sea. 11,000 meters. Let us translate that depth into a physical scale. If you were to tear Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, from its roots and drop it directly into the Mariana Trench, the peak of the mountain would completely vanish. It would still be covered by more than 2 kilometers of dark, crushing water. Down at the bottom of the trench, the physical reality of the water changes. The sheer mass of 11 kilometers of ocean pressing down from above creates an environment of incomprehensible pressure. At the floor of Challenger Deep, the water presses in with a force of over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure you feel at sea level. Imagine the invisible atmospheric weight we discussed earlier, the 15 pounds of pressure resting on every square inch of your chest right now. Now multiply that force by 1,000. It is roughly equivalent to balancing the entire weight of an adult elephant on the space of a single postage stamp. By every logical rule of biology, the bottom of the trench should be a dead, sterile wasteland. Nothing should be able to withstand the total absence of sunlight, the freezing cold, and the bone-crushing physical weight of the deep ocean. But this brings us to the deeper layer of the mystery. Life is absurdly resilient. Down in the absolute dark, in the most remote and hostile environment on the planet, the ocean is not empty. It is teeming with alien life. Because there is no sunlight, the creatures that live in the abyss have had to invent their own ways of seeing, hunting, and communicating. They have evolved the ability to create their own light through a biological process called bioluminescence. In the crushing dark, organisms ranging from microscopic plankton to predatory fish and delicate jellyfish manufacture light from within their own bodies. The chemistry is brilliantly elegant. Deep inside their cells, an enzyme called luciferase interacts with a light-producing molecule called luciferin. When oxygen is introduced to this mixture, energy is released not as heat but as a pure, cold, visible light. This ability has evolved independently dozens of times across the tree of life. The deep ocean is filled with it. If you could stand in the trench and look out into the water, you would not see a wall of black. You would see a flickering, drifting constellation of living stars. There are fish with glowing lures suspended from their heads, hanging like lonely lanterns in the dark. There are deep-sea jellyfish that ripple with rings of electric blue. There are transparent predators and delicate, spindly crustaceans navigating the abyss by the faint, rhythmic flashing of their own bodies. These creatures do not know what the sun is. They do not know what a day or a year feels like. They live their entire lives subjected to a pressure that would instantly crush human steel, drifting through freezing water in a world completely disconnected from the surface. Yet there is no dread in this darkness. There is only a quiet, astounding equanimity. Life did not just survive the abyss, it adapted perfectly to it. It took a lightless, crushing void and filled it with a shared language of glow. It is a testament to the fact that biology will stretch to fill whatever space it is given, no matter how severe the conditions. You are resting on the surface of a world that is unimaginably deep. Right now, thousands of miles away from your bed, the great ocean conveyor belt is moving. Massive currents of warm water are flowing silently toward the ice. Cold water is plunging into the deep. And miles beneath the waves, in the trench floors scarred into the bedrock of the earth, tiny, fragile creatures are mixing chemicals in their blood to light up the dark. The oceans are breathing, the currents are circulating. You are suspended above a heavy, ancient system of water and glowing life, safe and dry in your room, drifting along on the surface of an extraordinary machine. Right now, as you lie in your bed, your body is performing a quiet, automatic miracle. Without you having to think about it, your chest rises and falls. You are drawing an invisible gas out of the quiet air of your room, pulling it deep into your lungs and using it to keep your cells alive. It is a simple, peaceful rhythm. We think of oxygen as a gentle, nurturing force. We associate it with life, health, and fresh air. We are entirely dependent on it. If you were deprived of it for even a few minutes, the delicate biological machinery of your body would begin to shut down. Because we are so fragile, we tend to project our own vulnerability onto life itself. We think of biology as something delicate, something that can only exist in a narrow, perfectly balanced window of comfortable temperatures, clean water, and safe environments. But this is a failure of human perspective. Individual organisms may be fragile, but life as a planetary force is not delicate. It is absurdly, almost terrifyingly resilient. To understand the sheer stubbornness of biology, we have to look past the familiar animals that walk on the surface of the earth. We have to look into the water, drifting near the warm coastal waters of the Mediterranean and scattered across the oceans of the world. There is a creature that defies one of the most fundamental, universal laws of nature. It is a tiny, translucent animal known to science as Turritopsis dohrnii. It is more commonly called the immortal jellyfish. For you, and for almost every other complex creature on Earth, time is a one-way street. We are born, we grow older, and eventually, the biological clock runs out. But this specific jellyfish does not follow that rule. When the immortal jellyfish is injured, when it is starving, or when it simply reaches the end of its natural adult lifespan, it does not die. Instead, it sinks to the ocean floor and begins a biological process that challenges our understanding of reality. It physically reverts its body back to its earliest stage of life. It transforms back into a polyp, which is the jellyfish equivalent of an infant. Let us translate this into an analogy you can easily visualize. Imagine watching a butterfly, its wings torn, and its life coming to an end, suddenly folding its wings inward, shedding its adult form, and turning back into a caterpillar to begin its life entirely over again. This is confirmed science, published in peer-reviewed literature. It has been observed repeatedly in laboratories. The jellyfish rewinds its own biological clock. It resets time, and once it returns to its infant state, it simply grows up again. It can cycle through its life stages over and over, potentially forever, unless it is physically eaten or destroyed. But defying age is only one form of resilience. To understand how life defies extreme environments, we have to look closer. We have to look through a microscope. Living in the damp moss outside your window, in the soil, and in the deep ocean, there are microscopic creatures called tardigrades. They are less than 1 millimeter long, and under a microscope they look strangely like plump, 8-legged bears. Because they are so unimaginably small, they seem incredibly vulnerable. But tardigrades are nearly indestructible. They can survive freezing temperatures close to absolute zero. They can survive being submerged in boiling water. They can withstand crushing pressures at the bottom of the deepest ocean trenches, and they can endure levels of radiation that would instantly kill a human being. In 2007, scientists even launched them into orbit, exposing them directly to the lethal freezing vacuum of outer space. They came back alive. How does a microscopic organism survive the vacuum of space? It uses a strategy called cryptobiosis. When the environment becomes hostile, the tardigrade does not fight it. It dries its own body out almost completely. It curls into a tiny, dehydrated ball, and it completely suspends its own metabolism. It hits the pause button on its own biological functions. It stops eating, it stops moving, it stops aging. It does not die, it just waits. It can remain in this state of suspended animation for decades, and the moment a single drop of liquid water touches it, the tardigrade reawakens, uncurls, and continues its life as if no time has passed at all. This is what the data says. It is established. Life is tougher, stranger, and far more adaptable than we ever imagined. But this brings us to a massive complication. We can marvel at the survival skills of the jellyfish and the tardigrade, but the ultimate test of biological resilience did not happen to a single species. It happened to the entire planet, and it involves the very gas you are breathing right now. Over 2 billion years ago, the Earth was a vastly different place. The atmosphere contained no free oxygen. The planet was inhabited entirely by ancient microbial life known as anaerobes, organisms that thrived in an oxygen-free environment. For them, the Earth was a perfect, stable home. But then, deep in the oceans, a tiny photosynthetic microbe called cyanobacteria evolved. These microbes possessed a new biological technology. They captured energy from the sun, and as a byproduct of this process, they released a steady stream of waste gas into the water. That waste gas was oxygen. At first, the oxygen was absorbed by dissolved iron in the ocean, turning it into rust that settled to the seafloor. But eventually the oceans could not absorb any more. The oxygen began to bubble out of the water and accumulate in the atmosphere. This is known as the Great Oxidation Event. For the ancient anaerobic life forms that covered the Earth, oxygen was not a life-giving breath. It was a highly reactive, corrosive, and deadly poison. Imagine the atmosphere of our planet slowly filling with a toxic, burning gas. As the oxygen levels rose, it chemically destroyed the cells of the organisms that had ruled the Earth for millions of years. The very thing that keeps you alive today was the cause of Earth's first, and perhaps most devastating, mass extinction. By all logic, the story of life on Earth should have ended there, poisoned by its own atmospheric waste. But life did not end. This brings us to the partial resolution of the mystery. How does life survive a global cataclysm? It survives by altering its own internal scripts. When the environment changes, life rewrites the rules. For a modern, visible example of this molecular flexibility, we can look to the intelligence of the octopus. The octopus is already an alien presence in our oceans, capable of shape-shifting and changing its color to match any surface. But its greatest trick is entirely invisible. Most animals, including human beings, are locked into the genetic code they were born with. Your DNA is a fixed blueprint, but scientists have discovered that octopuses have the ability to physically edit their own RNA on the fly. RNA is the molecular script that translates the instructions of DNA into the proteins that build the body. The octopus can intercept these scripts and change them in real time. If the ocean water suddenly turns freezing cold, or if the environment becomes intensely stressful, the octopus edits its own biological instructions to change how its neurons fire and how its nervous system operates. It fine-tunes its biology to survive the immediate threat. It does not wait for evolution to slowly change its species over thousands of years. It rewrites its own biology in the dark. This molecular adaptability is the hallmark of life. When the ancient atmosphere filled with toxic oxygen 2 billion years ago, biology did not surrender. Deep in the corrosive environment, a few strange, mutated microbes figured out how to harness the reactive power of the oxygen. They learned to use the poison as a new, highly efficient source of energy. They took the agent of the apocalypse and they turned it into fuel. Our planet has experienced at least 5 mass extinction events over the past 500 million years. Volcanoes have flooded the atmosphere with ash. Asteroids have slammed into the crust. The climate has violently shifted from global icehouse to scorching greenhouse. Each time, the world was destroyed. Each time, the vast majority of species were erased. But the thread was never broken. Life simply retreated, altered its molecular scripts, and found a new way forward. Right now, as you lie in the safety of your room, taking slow, even breaths in the dark, you are participating in this legacy. Every inhale of oxygen that enters your lungs is a quiet testament to the persistence of biology. You are not separate from the violent, strange history of this planet. You are the direct descendant of the ancient survivors who endured the darkness, adapted to the poison, and refused to die. The breath that keeps you alive is the echo of an ancient catastrophe. You are resting at the very end of an unbroken chain of survival, stretching back billions of years into the deep, quiet past. Right now, as you lie in your bed, your physical boundaries feel obvious. You can feel the sheets resting against your skin. You can feel the mattress supporting your weight. The walls of your room stand between you and the outside world, keeping the wind and the dark at bay. It is deeply intuitive to believe that you are a separate, distinct object, an independent entity entirely disconnected from the physical mechanics of the planet you are resting on. But this separation is a biological illusion. Zoom out from your room, past the roof of your house, past the heavy, invisible ocean of the atmosphere, and look back at the Earth from the freezing vacuum of space. From out here, you can see the fundamental truth of our world. The Earth is a closed system. With the exception of a steady, invisible rain of microscopic cosmic dust and the occasional meteorite striking the atmosphere, our planet does not gather new matter. It does not lose matter. The total amount of physical material on Earth has remained almost exactly the same for over 4 billion years. This means the Earth is a perfect planetary-scale recycling engine. Everything that exists here is made from the exact same finite pool of materials, endlessly broken down, rearranged, and built back up again. Think about the physical materials that make up your body right now. The calcium hardening your bones, the iron carrying oxygen in your blood, the carbon forming the structure of your muscles. You did not create these elements, you are simply borrowing them. Every single atom in your body has been recycled through rocks, oceans, and other living things for billions of years. Let us trace the history of just one carbon atom resting inside your hand right now. Millions of years ago, that exact atom might have been locked inside a massive slab of limestone at the bottom of a prehistoric ocean. Tectonic forces pushed that stone deep into the churning mantle, where it melted. The atom was blasted out of a volcano as carbon dioxide, where it drifted into the heavy sky. It was absorbed by the broad leaf of an ancient fern. That fern was eaten by an animal which eventually died, returning the atom to the soil, where it was taken up by the roots of a tree. It has passed through countless forms, surviving mass extinctions and ice ages until this exact moment, where it is temporarily arranged into the shape of you. When you take a slow breath in the quiet of your room, the nitrogen entering your lungs was released from volcanoes eons ago, breathed by long extinct creatures, and cycled through the global atmosphere millions of times. The water making up the vast majority of your cells is ancient. It was forged in the violent early days of the solar system, delivered by comets, and has cycled endlessly between the deep oceans, the floating architecture of the clouds, and the rain. Even the heavier elements in your body carry an ancient legacy. The calcium in your skeleton was forged in the crushing nuclear heart of an ancient star. When that star died in a massive supernova explosion, it scattered those elements across the void, where they eventually coalesced to form our solar system. You are not just living on the Earth, you are made of it. You are a temporary pattern, a brief, quiet arrangement of ancient stardust and planetary rock resting in the dark. This is confirmed science. It is an undeniable, measured law of physics and biology. We understand this profound interconnectedness because we are not just passive observers on this rock. We are a species driven by an insatiable need to understand the dark. We have spent decades searching the cosmos for another world like ours. We have launched advanced space telescopes like Kepler and TESS, scanning hundreds of thousands of distant stars. We have discovered thousands of exoplanets drifting in the void. Yet, despite all our searching, Earth remains the only place in the universe where we know life exists. Because of this, we are turning our most sophisticated instruments back toward our own home. We are not standing still. The story of our discovery is moving forward at a staggering pace. Right now, as you listen to this, humanity is actively building and deploying an extraordinary array of instruments to measure the invisible mechanics of our planet. High above your roof, orbiting at thousands of miles an hour, fleets of Earth observation satellites are quietly taking the pulse of the world. The Copernicus Sentinel satellites are capturing petabytes of high-resolution data, monitoring the slow creep of glaciers and the exact chemical composition of the atmosphere. Orbiting in perfect tandem, the Grace follow-on satellites are constantly measuring the invisible, shifting gravity of the Earth. They fly precisely 220 kilometers apart. When the leading satellite flies over a massive, heavy object, like a dense mountain range or a thick ice sheet, the microscopic increase in gravitational pull drags it forward, changing the distance between the two spacecraft by less than the width of a human hair. By measuring these microscopic shifts in distance, scientists can actually track the movement of invisible groundwater deep beneath the continents, or measure the exact mass of ice melting in the Antarctic dark. Down in the crushing depths of the oceans, a global network of autonomous floats called Argo are drifting in the midnight zone, quietly measuring the temperature and salinity of the great ocean conveyor belt. Satellites like Jason 3 are constantly bouncing radar off the sea surface to measure the exact height of the oceans down to the millimeter. We are not guessing how the planet works anymore. The investigation is ongoing, and we are the species doing it. We are placing sensors in the deep rock, in the swirling ocean currents, and in the freezing vacuum of orbit. The Earth is a living, complex machine, and we are mapping its invisible gears in real time. But no matter how advanced our instruments become, they all eventually point back to a single, humbling reality. In 1990, the Voyager 1 spacecraft was speeding toward the outer edge of our solar system. At the request of scientists on the ground, the probe turned its camera backward and took one final photograph of Earth from a distance of roughly 6 billion kilometers. 6 billion kilometers. In the time it took you to hear that number, that distant spacecraft moved another 10 miles further into the absolute dark. In that image, the Earth is not a massive, unmovable world. It is a pale blue dot. It is a tiny, fragile speck of light, suspended in a boundless, indifferent void. Every human being who has ever lived, every empire that has ever risen and fallen, every ancient forest, every deep ocean trench, every violent storm, and every quiet moment of peace you have ever experienced exists entirely on that microscopic pixel of light. We are incredibly small. You are resting on a planet that is hurtling through a dark, frozen, and violent universe. Above you is the crushing vacuum of space. Beneath you is a churning ocean of liquid iron. You are trapped between the subterranean fire and the cosmic void, protected only by a thin, drifting magnetic shield and a fragile blanket of heavy gas. And yet, within this precarious, moving architecture, life stubbornly persists. The deep biosphere is taking a breath that lasts 10,000 years. The trees are whispering chemical warnings in the dark soil. The glowing creatures of the abyss are drifting safely in the cold, and you are lying safely in your bed, your cells quietly coordinating the rhythm of your breath. The story of the Earth is not cleanly resolved, and it is not finished. The tectonic plates will continue to grind. The magnetic poles will eventually flip. The ice will retreat and advance. The great ocean conveyor belt will shift its rhythm. The planet will continue its slow, massive, complex machinery long into the deep future. You do not need to have all the answers tonight. You do not need to hold the weight of the sky or understand the exact rotation of the core. As you drift closer to sleep, you can let go of the need to control or comprehend the sheer, terrifying scale of the universe. You are a small, quiet part of a massive, ongoing story. You are resting safely on the surface of an extraordinary machine, a living, breathing world moving steadily and beautifully through the dark.